So I'll call this to order. This should be a rather quick meeting today. If you can see, basically, if you take part 1 all the way through part 6, that is the Senate, and y'all have a copy of their resolution that they passed us over here. That is their namings, and we're adding them to our bill that we passed over there with a few more additions. I know one of them is part 7, the Marquise Grissom, one that was done by, I think, Representative Flood, if I'm not mistaken. And I am a big Marquise Grissom fan and Braves fan, so I'm sure y'all would not have an objection to that. One I will bring you, and I think if you'll look on 8, you will see at page 6, part 8 is Representative Williams. I think that's the one that you were wanting. Am I correct? All right. Go ahead. What's your question? How about talking into your mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 3, what is the road that's being discussed here? This hadn't been discussed with me. It is in my district. If
you will look on the back, in the bill, it actually shows where those parts, they correspond to the roads.
On the back, yeah. Let's see.
First part of the bill deals with the resolution, and then they always take and put, starting on page 30, is where it talks about the different roads all throughout there just being named.
30.
So, the one in Bryan County, is that the one?
No, Liberty. Oh, okay. Portion 95 in Liberty County from exit 76 north to Bryan County. We had to double check that. That's fallen troopers, because I'd made a request on that one, and DOT told me that road was dedicated to the fallen troopers. That was the original request for Bobby Sykes. That was, and if that's not the case, then I got a problem, because I was told that road was for fallen troops.
Josh, we don't have from on.
That was the original request, and I got a letter from DOT saying that had been dedicated to the fallen troopers, and I immediately backed off. So that's a good place for it. But I did have a problem with it. If it was available, then my original request that it would be named for R.B. Bobby Sykes, who was former sheriff.
Do you know who? We don't even know.
Like I said, nobody bothered to say anything to me about it.
We don't actually know who was the sponsor. Can you look? All right, we'll let Jenna look at that one while we're going on through, if you don't mind.
I sure don't. Okay.
Another one I want to call your attention to is part 9. Last year we named in Hall County Friendship Road, and there were some issues up in that area concerning hold on, my mind just went blank, the Lake Lanier Islands Parkway. I'm glad that little voice just appeared. But there was some problems concerning Lake Lanier Islands Parkway with that resolution that we had passed after we had passed it. So we are now going back in and repealing that. But in order to help Representative Barr, we actually went back and named another portion on that Friendship. So we have taken care of him and taken care of any problems that there might have been concerning that. If any of you have had any kind of questions or concerns given to you. So, let's wait a minute. Let Miss Doyle.
Is all of 9 gone?
All of 9 is gone. I mean, it's in here. No, I mean, it's in here, but that verbiage right there is what repeals that. I'm sorry. I meant
What line are you on there, the verbiage?
150.
150?
Then you got to go back to the corresponding language.
I have trouble with my Roman numerals, I'm sorry.
Okay. Don't feel bad, I do as well. I don't know why we can't use 1, 2, 3, 4. It'd be a lot easier for like Representative Williams and I from down in the South.
right.
You know, we
don't use those often.
no. So we'll stand at ease for a minute and let Jenna pull up the concerns of Representative Williams. Yes, what number? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Representative Geisinger.
Just curious question. By putting that sentence in there, which talks about the widening of the road, you say that's the replacement?
Yeah, that's where they actually went in and built the new highway, and they named it in that honor. Or I shouldn't say named it in honor, but renamed it, or named it originally.
It's the Friendship Road.
Is the Friendship Road. If you go to line 822 in the bill, you will see where it says, be it further resolved and enacted that a resolution dedicating certain portions of the state highway system as approved May the 7th of 2013 is amended by repealing the 13th undersigned paragraph relating to the dedication of the Lake Lanier Islands Parkway. So that's basically where we went in and pulled that portion out, repealed that as far as the Friendship, and left it to make sure everybody understood it was Lake Lanier Islands Parkway.
I understand now.
Been a long day, Representative Geisinger. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Carter.
Yeah, I talked with the senator yesterday, and he even mentioned it. I hope he doesn't do that in Washington. Man.
We all have some concerns there, Representative Williams.
I've got a concern with how that road was named and why I was told that it was dedicated to fallen troopers.
Well, let me also say that when you get a letter back from the department, that letter tells you that the conflict letter. That does not mean that you can't rename. I understand what you're saying. You wouldn't have done that.
No, number one, I would never have taken a dedicated troopers road. And I got a problem with anybody taking a road dedicated to fallen troopers in my district.
I understand that.
Change it.
You know anything, Josh?
I got a real problem with that.
Let's see if Josh.
The only thing that I would say to the chairman's point is that the same letter that we provide to you would have been provided to Senator Carter with the exact same verbiage stating that there was a conflict with the road. Now, what they do with the letter once they receive that, that's sort of our jurisdiction is to provide you that insight as to whether there's a conflict. And you made the decision that you didn't want to supersede what was already there.
I agree, Josh. Let me follow up with this. That it's a road for fallen state troopers. If I wanted to follow up with it, then I would want the whole House to know that I'm taking this road from fallen troopers and I'm giving it to somebody else, because that's only fair to the fallen troopers. Now, if it was Harry Blow from 1880, I could see it a little differently. But this honored troopers that have fallen since we had a Georgia State Patrol. So I was kind enough not to want to do that. And since it's in my district and under the rules of my delegation, we all either disagree or it does not fly. I
Absolutely.
mean, we all agree or it doesn't fly. And I am dean of the delegation.
And I'm not getting up here to,
All
to
right,
conflict
I'm
that.
just-
I just
all
want to
right.
let you know that the letter, that we wouldn't have sent him anything differently than what we sent you. And I certainly respect that position. And we have no say in the matter outside of just providing that letter. I just wanted you to know the same information was provided to you as to him. As
Okay.
was done.
I know it won't be a problem then, Josh, to get me a copy of both of those letters.
Okay. We'll do that.
Thank you, sir. And since times are flying, can you call somebody to kind of bring it on
I
over?
can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Was that the exact? Well, now, was that the exact place? I mean, we're sure that we're talking about the same exact portion that you wanted that he's done. Is that correct?
Well, there's a sign north, and I know you wouldn't know the area, but there's a sign north.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Oh, well, let me just tell you.
I've been through Liberty County
all
on
right.
several occasions.
On I-76, at the Bryan County line, before you get to 76, there's a sign that speaks of the Fallen Soldiers Highway. On the other side, it indicates that it runs from South Newport to the Bryan County line. That's what it looks like. And it's interesting because his nephew, Buddy DeLoach, introduced that and carried it when it was run. I don't have a problem with Representative Joe Brown, but I do have a problem when first I wasn't given the courtesy in the heart of my district. Secondly, to take a road naming from fallen troopers. Thirdly, I just don't like it. It ain't right.
Well, I will tell you that as a member of this committee, you have the opportunity to amend the piece of legislation if you so choose. Now, that is up to you. If you want to make a motion that be removed, then you have that right.
If the chair would allow me to do what the senator didn't do for me, and that's give him a courtesy call, I would not do it without letting him know it's going to happen. Because I'm going to do for him. I understand the manners in the Senate's a little different, but I'd like to be mannerable and at least let him know.
You want me to give you a recess for about
5 minutes.
so do? We'll stand in recess for about 5 minutes. All right. Representative Williams.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. According to this letter, and in 2003, General Assembly designated Interstate 95 throughout Georgia as the Purple Heart Trail. But the department said it wouldn't have any objections if this 5-mile section was dedicated for Joey Brown. Now, where I'm confused is his letter says the whole 112 miles was dedicated to Purple Heart Trail. My letter says that the portion I was asking for was dedicated as the Fallen Troopers Memorial Highway. Now, he was told here that the department would have no objections to it being changed from the Purple Heart Trail to Joey Brown. But I'm told here that it's a Fallen Troopers Highway, and I can't use it. We have found that there is a conflict with your proposal. I want to know, have you got two standards? You don't like Purple Hearts or you don't like Fallen? Which one is it? Because one says exactly opposite of what the other says. I just need an explanation from the department.
Same person signed it?
Oh, no, Keith Golden signed one and Todd signed the other. Todd Long.
Well,
I don't understand the difference.
I would tell you this, and I'm not saying that about this, but sometimes you have a highway that may be, like we've just dedicated the Georgia Grown Trail, and it covers 4 or 5 counties. It's known as the Georgia Grown Trail. Well, in between there, that highway is actually dedicated in honor of different individuals. So I don't know if that's the case on this or not, but I will tell you that that is the situation we have sometimes. So I don't know. I'm puzzled too.
If I might follow up, Mr.
You
Chairman,
absolutely.
I understand. My contention is, and I contend this, that why is it that the department doesn't have a problem with changing the Purple Heart Trail, but they have a problem with changing the Fallen Troopers Memorial Highway? Both of them are basically saying, we ain't got but about hundreds of Purple Heart recipients in my area with Fort Stewart right there, where we've buried almost 500, by the way. But I'd like to know why the department made that distinction.
I've not seen the physical copies of the letters, but to answer your question, when we turn in that letter that says conflict or no conflict, we have started clarifying that we don't object, but honestly, it really doesn't matter whether or not the department objects or not. It's ultimately your decision as a committee and a General Assembly whether or not you want to rededicate or dedicate a portion thereof. Our only charge that we've been charged with is when a request is made, that we go and validate and determine what has been named and what hasn't. And we actually transitioned from, it used to be the deputy commissioner who signed the letters to now it is the commissioner who signs the letters that go to you.
That's a little backwards, Josh. I believe what you say, but mine was signed January 22nd by the commissioner, and deputy commissioners were signed on February 19th. So the commissioner was still signing when he signed mine, but that would have been the opposite of what you just said.
I don't exactly know why
okay.
Todd Long is.
That's great.
Historically, it had been the deputy commissioner, and then we transitioned it to the commissioner.
But I moved up and got the commissioner to tell me no. I think I'd have rather heard from the deputy commissioner since he is from Liberty County. But
what I would say from the department's position is that if the General Assembly decides, regardless of what the request is, the department is not in a position to object to anything that you do with respect to rename, because that's you specifically several years ago took away the power to designate or name roads from the State Transportation Board, invested in the General Assembly. So it is 100% your purview as to what it should or should not be named.
I promise you this is my last question. I understand what you're saying. I know what we can do and can't do. My big question is the difference in the last paragraph in these two letters. My letter specifically says, we have found that there's a conflict with your proposal. The 2005 General Assembly designated this route as the Fallen Troopers Memorial Highway. This information was obtained from the Georgia Road and Bridge Naming Database. End of question. This one ends with the 2003 General Assembly designated Route 95 throughout Georgia as the Purple Heart Trail. However, the department would not have any objections if this 5-mile section of I-95 was dedicated to Joey Brown. This information was obtained from the Georgia Road and Bridge. There is a big difference in the answers and reasons given for these two. Why is there no objection to one and objection to the other? And one was submitted January 22nd that had objection flat no, and the other one's February 19th that, hey, we don't have a problem with it. I'm just curious. It cries out for an answer.
I can't give you an answer beyond just how the letters were drafted, except sort of what the chairman has said. Sometimes when you're looking at a larger segment, if you're asking for a smaller segment of it, sometimes we'll say that smaller segment is eligible. We wouldn't object if it's part of a larger
Same
section.
Distance. Same distance. I drive it every day. No difference. Well, that's not the reason. So we can scratch that one, because that's not the reason. I've just got to, let me say this in the interest, not of time, because I think this is important, because, you know, I'm not sure it'll last forever, because it looks like we're changing them at will, but in the interest of fairness, I don't think this was handled fairly. I think both of these gentlemen are deserving. I don't have a problem with either one of them. Know both of them personally, knew one personally, and still know the other one personally, and that's not the point. The point is that I feel like I was misled. I really do. And even though I have the right, you should have said the same thing you said on this one. We don't have an objection, because I can't see that you're not objecting to Purple Hearts, but you object to Fallen Troopers. Now, I got a problem with that. I just think it was handled sloppily, and I think that the board, the Department of Transportation, ought to make all requests even and fair. Should have left it just like mine, or left mine just like this one. Why you got a problem with one and don't have with the other? I got a real problem there.
And I cannot respond to why there's a distinction, but you're absolutely right that they should be consistent.
Yes.
And either it should be that we have no objection or we do.
It's all
should be the
that's
same.
all.
And if I could just add one more thing about the process when we do get a request, it is really a very sort of perfunctory process where we find out there's a request. We send that request to the Office of Transportation Data. The Office of Transportation Data combs the past century's worth of State Transportation Board actions as well as General Assembly actions to make sure, and even sometimes we'll send DOT maintenance employees out on the roads to make sure there's no older signage that we may just not be catching something. And then when it comes back, we generate a letter that says a conflict or no conflict. There's no other determination made or looking at who the individual is or what the request is to go into a determination about what we recommend or we don't recommend. In terms of the inconsistency in those letters, they shouldn't be. It should be stated the same.
I'm going to do this for the benefit of the chair. I'm going to take a picture of the sign on this one that you says Purple Heart that says Fallen Troopers. I'm going to take a picture on that northern part. There is no sign on the part that was rejected for me. But it is well marked, not Purple Heart Trail. It's marked Fallen Troopers. There's been conflicts throughout. But let me, like I said, in interest, because both families are good families. And I will not object to that, and I'll leave it alone. I won't. But I think it could have been handled a lot differently if it had been just mentioned. I've tried to call Senator Carter, and he's in another committee meeting. I was unable to reach him. But I'm very disappointed that it happened like this. And I won't object to it because I'd hate to, I don't want to hurt the Brown family, but I do think that the first divvy should have been given to the Sykes family per my request, and I'd have been glad to have given the bridge to the Brown family. But I for one, I wouldn't take a Purple Heart Trail nor Fallen Trooper Trail, but that's just me. Thank you.
10-4. All right. Now, any other questions concerning any of the other? Who's 26? Representative Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have just a question. I believe one of those letters was 2003. Is that what you said? Both of them were 14. Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Mine was written before the other.
Okay, thank you.
Now, any other questions, comments? All right. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion on the substitute to SR 937. Do I have a motion to pass? Have a motion. Do I have a second? Go ahead, Representative Prince. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, any further discussion? Chair hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed. All right, let me say this. This is probably, unless something drastically happens, the last meeting that we will have during this session. And I know, Chairman Reinders, that breaks your heart, and I understand. Having said that, stay tuned. We are going to, this summer, try to come back up and go to the Beltline and let Representative Gardner show us around. We can put that together, as well as in conjunction probably try to go over to the GDOT Command Center and the GEMA Command Center and take a tour of that too, so y'all can see what that's about. I'll let you know more as we move forward. To those of y'all who have primaries, I wish you all the best. And if I can do anything, let me know. Be glad to help. But we probably will wait until after the primaries before we start anything, to give everybody an opportunity to campaign and all. And then in the heat of the summer, we'll all get back together and try to see if we can't come up and like I said, do that. We are going to have some study committees going on concerning funding. Those appointments will be up to the speaker, but I encourage each and every one of you to feel free to come to any of those meetings, and I welcome your input, as I've said from the past. I truly welcome all of your input on them. So, having said that, you're not recognized for that motion. No, having said that, I will recognize Chairman Reinders for a motion. He moves that we stay. We kind of do this in the house. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed. No. The chair clearly hears that we are moved to adjourn. Thank y'all. Seriously, I thank you for your service.